Build by Tony Fadell. This book is called Build. Okay, that could mean anything. You build something, you could build or create anything, just like everything is just built the same way. Let's hear this guy out. Now I know what many of us are thinking. Who is this random dude to just tell us how to build things also? This is not just anybody. This is Tony Fadell. This man was the co-creator of the iPod and the iPhone, and he also created Google Nest Labs. So he has some massive scale innovation under his belt, and that's presumably what he will be drawing his insights from. When I found that out, I suddenly became much more excited to review this book. So what can we learn from it? Let's talk about it. Just a brief overview of what you'll see in the description. There are affiliate links, and if you buy anything through those links, like maybe this book, then I get commission, which helps me build this channel and keep making these videos. You can also find this book and many others on my Amazon storefront, and any other books that I mentioned in this video, chances are I've reviewed them, and I'll drop those links in the description too. So affiliate links, Amazon storefront, and other book reviews. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam, and I want to make self-growth normal. People shouldn't have to look this information up. It should just be mainstream knowledge. If you agree, then please make sure to smash that like button. Each chapter of this book contains stories and insights formed by jobs, coaches, managers, and peers that he's had, as well as the countless mistakes that he's made. I like how the introduction, he comes up with this brief timeline of his life in terms of moments that further drove his passion and career. It may sound very normal, but I don't think I've ever heard this before, where you just say 1986, the Apple II Plus. I just had to have that computer. 1990, and so on and so forth. And it was just very brief. This book has 6 parts, and let's go over all of them. I'm going to lay out my thoughts, anything that stands out to me or anything along those lines, and let's talk about those. Part 1 is build yourself. This began with a section about adulthood, and this is such a crucial part, I think, of this book that other books about this that just talk about defining yourself from a younger age, they don't really touch upon. This began with a section about adulthood, and I love how he looks at it as this opportunity to screw up a little less time you try something, which schools don't really see it as. The best way to find a job you love, as he said, is to follow what you're naturally interested in and take risks when choosing where to work. He said to assume most of your choices will fail. The Defining Decade, the book by Meg Jay, is an excellent book with more info on the impact of your 20s and how it affects the rest of your life. It is the time to make mistakes, coming from someone who himself is nearing the end of his 20s. This isn't just a Silicon Valley phenomenon. Revolutionary companies are popping up in every industry: agriculture, drug discovery, finance, and insurance in every part of the world. Seemingly impossible problems that a decade ago would have cost billions to solve, requiring massive investments from large firms, can now be figured out with a smartphone app, a small sensor, and the internet. A world like that is a world worth building yourself in. Part 2 is build your career. He begins with more of a story on the development of his time at the company General Magic, what many referred to as an Apple spinoff. Then he went into being a manager and how when you're a manager, you should be managing and spending at least 85% of your time managing and letting go and trusting your team to be creative and giving them breathing room, and how it's one of the hardest things about being a manager. You also learn about dealing with jerks is a more pleasant word for it, as well as quitting. The most interesting thing I heard about quitting here is that most people don't remember you for how you started things, they remember you for how you ended them. Part 3 is build your product. Creating something can be done without building your skills, but it is a lot easier when you know what you're doing. He uses his experiences with Apple and General Magic and at Philips to explain how this is the case. And he also said that to reverse engineer the whole customer journey, the whole thing. A lot of salespeople will say to put yourself in the customer shoes. That's exactly what we're doing here. How often are you genuinely impressed with a product, and how long do you stay impressed, really? When's the last time you bought something on Amazon or Temu or whatever people buy from nowadays, and it was from a brand you've never heard of, and you try it and you thought, damn, this does exactly what I needed to, and you were so happy with it that you couldn't use anything instead from now on, and you never did. And when you had a question about it and had problems with it, they got back to you immediately with an answer or solution, and it was very easy to access them, meaning no hold time, or they answered the customer service chat request and you knew it was a person on the other end, and it was fast and smooth. Have you ever really had an experience like that? Could you imagine providing one? Part 4 is build your business. Something he said here that I really appreciated that was that most entrepreneurs create companies over inconvenient issues that drove them insane not being solved. People couldn't stand thermostats, so the author put together the smart thermostat with Google Nest. They couldn't stand smoke detectors, so we made smart smoke detectors. You know how annoying it is when you forget that you have stuff in in the washer or dryer, the most bougie thing about my wife and I, our apartment, is probably the washer dryer setup. These things have an app, and they will tell you when it's done via Bluetooth. But that way you get an alert and it's not just white noise in the background. My wife loves it. For those who don't know, about 60% of billion-dollar startups, they were started by someone in their 30s or 40s, because those people have already failed a bunch in their 20s and they have skin in the game that's required to stay afloat when things get difficult. The section about crisis and ways to handle stress, it was a total chef's kiss. Part 5 is build your team. Build your team, everybody. There were some very high definition tips here about like hiring people in neither the old or new school ways, integrating new people into the culture at a reasonable pace, and keeping a diverse work environment, a lunch where the owners meet the new hires, firing and making it a good thing. As he said, just as someone makes a commitment when joining your company, you make a commitment to them, and more. There was a chapter on marketing and its importance, later referenced when he talked about marketing an idea to Steve Jobs himself in meetings for extending battery life. We didn't bring Steve numbers, we brought him customers like Sarah, who only used the iPod coming to and from work. Tom used it throughout the day in short bursts between classes or basketball games. We created typical customer personas that walk through the moments in their lives while jogging, at parties, in the car, etc. And that, even if the number the engineer gave us was 12 hours lasted most people all week long. The numbers were empty without customers, the facts useless without context. And part 6 is be CEO. Here he talks about being bought out, philosophy on being on the boards, perks versus benefits, and more. Running something from the ground up. The whole book, from the focus on yourself to your career to your product to your business to your team and beyond, it was an excellent overview of it. Quotes: "The only failure in your 20s is inaction. The rest is trial and error. Honesty is more important than style. Don't try to disrupt everything at once. Don't be the next Amazon Fire Phone." We were moving so fast that by the time they caught up, they were already behind. Everyone thinks they can do your job better until they actually have to do it and deliver. Don't worry about what you're going to lose. Worry about what you're going to become. Direction 1. I recommend this book for any entrepreneur, simple as it gets, and anyone who watches this channel regularly knows how rarely I try to throw around the E word. And direction 2, if you like this book, I recommend checking out Disrupt You by Jay Samit, and this is a good one, The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. Build by Tony Fadell. There's a link in the description if you want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books that I mentioned in this video if you want to check those out too. If there are any other books that you want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if you've checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't get why people watch this far into my videos and they don't subscribe. But if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.